Power, it does not belong to the kind. It does not favor the honest. It does not reward the good. Power belongs to those who understand it. Centuries ago in Renaissance Italy, one man dared to expose the brutal truths of human nature. A man who believed that morality was a tool, loyalty a mask, and compassion a weakness. His name was Niccolò Machiavelli. Machiavelli revealed what kings, emperors, and ruthless leaders never wanted you to know: that human behavior can be predicted, that people can be manipulated, and that control is not given. It is taken. In his legendary work, The Prince, Machiavelli laid out hidden strategies and psychological laws that allow you to bend minds, influence decisions, and dominate any situation. But beware. These laws are not for the faint of heart. If you truly wish to master them, you must first abandon illusions about morality and accept a cold, uncomfortable truth. People are selfish, people are predictable, and power belongs to those who exploit both. So today we're diving deep into Machiavelli's 7 laws. Rules that expose the raw machinery of influence. Laws that leaders, billionaires, and master manipulators still use today, often against you. This is not motivation. This is not inspiration. This is strategy. Let's begin. Part 1. The first law: control perception, control power. Machiavelli's first law is simple, yet devastatingly effective. Men judge more by the eye than by the hand, because everyone can see but few can touch. In other words, it doesn't matter who you are. It matters who they think you are. Machiavelli understood that humans are visual creatures. We make decisions based on what we see, hear, and feel, not on truth, but on perception. If you want to dominate any room, you must control the narrative about yourself before others create it for you. Think of the powerful: kings, CEOs, influencers, politicians. They don't always deserve their authority. They engineer it. They carefully craft an image, a mask designed to provoke respect, fear, or desire. This is why appearances matter more than reality. If people believe you are confident, they treat you as if you are. If people believe you are valuable, they follow you without question. And if people believe you are powerful, you become powerful, even if you aren't. Machiavelli called this the theater of power. Behind the curtain, reality doesn't matter. What matters is what they see when the curtain rises. But here's the secret twist. To master perception, you must also master silence. The less you explain, the more mysterious you become. People fear what they don't fully understand, and fear breeds control. So if you want to dominate anyone, speak less, observe more, build an image greater than your reality. And remember, control perception, and you control the battlefield without even lifting a sword. Part 2. The second law: play weak, strike strong. Machiavelli's second law is as cunning as it is dangerous. Never show all your strength. Appear weaker than you are, until it is too late. Why? Because predictable power invites resistance. The moment people sense your full strength, they unite against you. But if they believe you are harmless, they lower their guard and that's when you strike. Think of a chessboard. The strongest players rarely attack directly. They bait their opponent into making the wrong move, creating an opening where they can destroy the king in silence. The same is true in life, business, and relationships. Machiavelli teaches us that disguise is a weapon. Appear vulnerable when you are strong. Pretend indifferent when you desire control. Show humility while quietly setting traps. The greatest manipulators hide in plain sight. They allow others to underestimate them, because nothing is more dangerous than the enemy you don't fear. But here's the most chilling part. This law is not about lying. It's about timing. You withhold your full power until the moment your opponent has no escape. When you finally reveal your strength, it will be too late for them to fight back. This is why Machiavelli insisted that patience is the highest form of dominance. Control your image, control your timing, and remember this eternal truth. The wolf in sheep's clothing always wins. Part 3. The third law. Control desire, control loyalty. Machiavelli believed that human loyalty is an illusion. People don't stay loyal because of morality, friendship, or gratitude. They stay loyal because they need something from you. In The Prince, he writes, "Men are ungrateful, fickle, deceptive, and greedy for gain. He who builds on their loyalty builds on sand." If you want to dominate anyone, never expect loyalty. Engineer it. People are driven by desire, the hunger for power, money, love, or recognition. Once you understand what they crave most, you gain the ability to control them without force. This is where psychological leverage comes into play. Find out what they value most. Make yourself the gatekeeper of that value, and watch how quickly their loyalty bends to your will. But Machiavelli warns, never give fully what they desire. Instead, feed their hunger in doses. Give them just enough to keep them coming back, but never enough to make them independent of you. This is the art of controlled scarcity. A king doesn't rule because he gives his subjects everything. He rules because he makes them believe that without him, they would have nothing. In relationships, in business, in politics, the principle is the same. Whoever controls desire, controls devotion. Remember this: if you make people need you, they'll never betray you. If you give them everything, you give them the power to walk away. And if you lose their dependency, you lose your dominance. Control their hunger. Feed it when it benefits you. Starve it when it makes them restless. And you'll hold their loyalty like a leash around the neck of a desperate man. Part 4. The fourth law. Create chaos, then offer order. Machiavelli understood something terrifying about human psychology. People crave stability more than freedom. In chaos, they will kneel to anyone who promises order. This is one of the most dangerous laws of domination. The ability to create problems, amplify them, and then present yourself as the solution. Throughout history, kings, rulers, and politicians have used this tactic to seize absolute control. They spread fear of external enemies. They manufacture crises to weaken trust in rivals. They divide people, making them fight each other instead of questioning authority. Then, they step forward as the only savior capable of restoring balance. Why does this work? Because chaos breeds vulnerability. When people feel uncertain, afraid, and overwhelmed, they stop thinking logically and start thinking emotionally. And emotional people are easy to control. Machiavelli teaches us that powerful leaders exploit instability to cement their dominance. But this isn't just for politics, and it applies everywhere. In business, create a problem that only your product can solve. In relationships, plant doubt and then become the reassuring answer. In negotiations, make them fear loss, then offer security on your terms. But there's a warning hidden inside this law. Never let the chaos you create spiral beyond your control. A master manipulator doesn't drown in the storm. He controls the weather. Those who control chaos control the crowd. And when you become the savior, no one dares to question how the disaster began. Part 5. The fifth law. Master the art of strategic cruelty. This is the most controversial and ruthless of all Machiavelli's laws, and the one most people fear to accept. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Why would Machiavelli say this? Because fear is reliable. Love is fragile, conditional, and temporary, but fear commands obedience even when respect, admiration, and loyalty fail. However, this does not mean you should be cruel without purpose. Machiavelli warns against senseless brutality. Instead, he advocates for calculated cruelty, targeted, precise, and unforgettable. Here's the principle. Strike once, Strike hard, strike clean. Make your example so strong, no one dares to challenge you again. A leader who punishes harshly but strategically earns a reputation that protects them. People don't cross boundaries when they know the cost. But here's where most fail. They overuse fear, and fear without control leads to hatred. And hatred is dangerous. To dominate anyone, you must strike a balance between power and restraint. Be feared enough that they hesitate to betray you. Be wise enough to avoid becoming the villain in their minds. A single calculated display of strength is often more effective than 100 gentle requests. People obey power when they believe resistance leads to pain. So Machiavelli's message is clear. If you want to control minds and win power, do not fear being feared. But remember, the deadliest weapon is not cruelty itself, it's the illusion that you're capable of it at any moment. Part 6, the sixth law. Keep your enemies close, but your intentions closer. Machiavelli understood a brutal reality. Your greatest threat isn't always your loudest enemy. It's the person who pretends to be your friend. In The Prince, he warns, the promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. This is not cynicism. This is survival. People change with opportunity. Allies become rivals, friends become competitors, and loyalty? It lasts only as long as interests align. Machiavelli teaches us a dangerous but powerful law. Never trust appearances. Study intentions instead. Here's how you use this law to dominate. 1. Watch, but don't reveal. The more people speak, the more they expose their weaknesses. 2. Stay unpredictable. Never let anyone know your next move. Control information like a weapon. 3. Invite the snake to dinner. Bring potential threats closer, not farther away. This way you see their moves before they strike. But there's something deeper here, and proximity gives control. When you keep your enemies close, you learn their fears, desires, and vulnerabilities. And when the time comes, you strike decisively, not blindly. However, Machiavelli warns of one trap. Do not become paranoid. Fear everyone and you weaken yourself. The key is strategic awareness, not constant suspicion. The true master of power isn't the one who destroys every enemy. It's the one who turns enemies into tools, and friends into unwitting pawns. Your strength isn't measured by how many people you defeat. It's measured by how many people never see the knife until it's already at their throat. Part 7. The seventh law, become indispensable or be replaced. The final Machiavellian law is the most important of all, the one that separates leaders from pawns. The wise man makes himself necessary. In a world driven by power struggles, the worst position you can be in is being replaceable. If people can function without you, they eventually will. Machiavelli teaches us the art of becoming indispensable. Control resources others depend on. Be the gatekeeper of something they need, but cannot access without you. Master rare skills. If you can do what no one else can, people are forced to keep you close. Create dependency, not partnership. When others need you to survive, you own the balance of power. Look at history. The most powerful advisors, generals, and kings weren't necessarily the strongest. They were the ones who controlled information, strategy, or money. They became so essential that removing them would collapse the system itself. But here's the darker truth Machiavelli understood. People are ruthless opportunists. The moment they realize they no longer need you, they will betray you without hesitation. So your job is to ensure one thing above all else. Make your absence feel like chaos. Make your presence so valuable that removing you becomes unthinkable. Because in this game of domination, the moment you become replaceable, you've already lost. Ending. The final lesson of power. Power doesn't belong to the strongest. It doesn't belong to the richest. It doesn't belong to the loudest voice in the room. Power belongs to the one who understands human nature. This is the essence of Machiavelli's philosophy. He didn't write The Prince as a guide for kings. He wrote it as a blueprint for anyone who dares to rise above the crowd. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people follow. They follow trends. They follow emotions. They follow leaders. Machiavelli's 7 laws exist to ensure you are never the follower, that you see the hidden moves behind every smiling face, every promise, every alliance. If you master these laws, you'll gain an unfair advantage over everyone around you. You'll understand what drives people at their core. You'll control perception, desire, and fear. You'll wield influence without begging for it. But be warned, with great knowledge comes great danger. The more you understand these laws, the more you'll see manipulation everywhere. In politics, in relationships, in business. And when you open your eyes to the truth of human nature, there's no going back. In the end, you have 2 choices. You can be the player, or you can be the pawn. The game of power doesn't stop. It doesn't forgive weakness, and it never rewards the naive. Machiavelli's question to you is simple. Will you control minds and win power, or will you live your life controlled by those who do? The choice is yours.